News 4 Special, 1995, Moments We Remember.
Good evening, and happy holidays from all of us at NBC4. Tonight, we want to share some of the stories and events that made 1995 a special year for all of us.
1995 was an extraordinary news year. We witnessed what some called the murder trial of the century. An Oklahoma terrorist explosion sent shockwaves across the country. A U.S. pilot survived on rainwater and bugs and became a hero. 1 million men made history by marching into Washington, D.C., a city that began its year by welcoming Mayor Barry back into office.
But there were other stories that made news in our community in 1995. Tonight, we'd like to show them to you, and you'll hear from some of the people who worked on those stories, stories that made moments we remember.
God, I've got butterflies.
Well,
you
just
are
relax.
The sweetest person in the world, honest to God. This is a gift we'll never forget as long as we live.
They met in 1937 when John's uncle sold him a ticket to an Elks Club dance. I think he just wanted to do something different because he writes a lot of poetry and he writes her poems all the time, but he wanted to make it something special. And I was really touched that he thought it would be special that I read it.
I wrote this poem for you, so pay attention to Susan.
I love you, dear. I love you like a breath of spring and the things you do for me. I love you for the way you are and the little things you make me see. I love you for your faith when things are going bad, your smile that brightens up the room and takes away the sad. They sent me a little gift, a little clock that is engraved Lady of Love. Because you are always there like the birds on wing and a breath of fresh air.
Despite the snow, thousands of people turned out for Channel 4's Health and Fitness Expo.
Saturday came, the snow came, and so did thousands of people. And in fact, in the 3 days of that event, we had over 45,000 folks come through. I get psyched, you know, I get psyched on this thing. It's something that you really cannot put it down when it's over, and it's never really over.
They are old, corroded, rusted, bent, cracked, and dirty. But they are precious. Each one, 51 years ago, tagged the person and the life of an American soldier. Willard Robertson's dog tag was among 9 found on Normandy Beach in France by an American student who gave them to his teacher.
This is it. Still has the chain on it.
Thank you.
I met families who had lost people in World War II, and to be able to get this dog tag back to them was really very meaningful. This meant so much to them.
I'm happy that they found them, but it's also very sad. Just brings back a lot of memories.
And for them to receive this dog tag, it really almost put them back in that moment on the beach with their loved one, and they were able to sort of close the circle of that whole experience for them.
It's estimated to be a huge crowd this year. 100,000 people are estimated to have come out this morning to watch the Cherry Blossom Parade.
You know, it's one of the times in the year where we can really have a celebration, bring people together. When you're actually at the parade, the energy and enthusiasm and just sheer joy of everyone that is there makes you feel wonderful.
The Washington Wang Chi School, only in their second year of performing in parades like this.
It's a happy, good feeling, and I think it's great that NBC4 does something like that for the Washington market.
It was 2 weeks ago today. Raging floodwaters knifed their way through Madison County, Virginia. Jim Crispin had only been married a month. He hadn't seen his wife in 2 days. The only way to his house was across the Rapidan River, but the road was washed out. Jim Crispin made a decision to get there by rope. The rope was tied to a front-end loader, and wearing borrowed gloves and an old life jacket he got from somebody he didn't even know, Jim Crispin entered the angry waters.
Give me some of this!
It was a story of desperation and devotion. An incredible story.
Now at one point, the rush of the river water was so strong, Jim nearly lost his grip.
Had he just dangled on that rope, eventually he would run out of strength, fallen into the rapids, and been washed downstream.
Hold on. To save Jim's life, the people on the bank cut the rope so that the force of the river would drive him to the other side.
There are not a lot of guys who would do that.
No, I don't think that there are a whole lot of guys that would do that.
He's one of them.
Yeah, I got one of them.
I imagine as people were home watching this, sitting next to their wife, there were many conversations that went like this. Honey, would you do that for me? And of course, probably hundreds of men out there lied through their teeth and said, but of course, dear, I would.
Jim and Cindy Crispin, together again, making plans to move someplace a little further away from the Rapidan River.
Ready, go!
It's just such a fabulous experience for me to see the smiles on these children's faces, to hear the laughter, and to realize that they're having an experience that is changing their lives. They'll never forget this.
Would you like to be the host? If I could, yeah. I want to be fun.
For a lot of these kids, they have never seen a world outside of their own streets. And for them to get to such a beautiful location right there on the Chesapeake Bay is really a wonderful experience for them. And as I said before, for them to have to be able to spend a week not doing anything but worrying about having fun is just a great experience.
Back up!
We have 3 main engines up and running. 2, 1, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission that will herald a new day of international cooperation in space.
The Russian-American docking will be the first since Apollo and Soyuz 20 years ago. Today, during a live interview with Atlantis, I asked the crew about their role in this historic venture.
NASA actually came to us and asked us if we wanted to take part in this. Being able to talk to a Russian cosmonaut and an American astronaut aboard the space shuttle, it was a great moment.
I have a question now for Nikolai Budarin. This is your first space flight.
Well, that concerns my being the rookie.
For me, it was a dream come true. As a kid, I always wanted to be an astronaut, but unfortunately, I went a different route, so I did the next best thing. I got to tell the space shuttle to stand by.
Karate classes. The Park family owns the store beneath and decided to open a martial arts studio. In the summer, it's also a camp for neighborhood kids who learn the commandments of Taekwondo from a strict karate master. One of them, give respect to others. And they also learn arts and crafts. The parks pay for the kids who can't afford the camp.
What really impressed me about June Park was how much one individual can do for a community just through a simple action. There are people every day who, through their own actions, are doing things that brings folks from all different races, all different cultures closer together in this city.
but I get stuck in bed.
And we figure that Taekwondo might be something very good for them, to give them some direction and give them confidence, and we wanted to share something of our culture with them.
When you meet someone like June Park, who's giving so much of himself and is doing so much to bring people together in one part of the neighborhood, it's really heartwarming.
They don't think it's going to happen to them. That's like the big thing. It's not going to happen to me. They're not really learning that much, and I think it's because of the age groups that are telling them. There's something about when you deal with your peers, it helps you to understand things better.
We are in 1995 now. We are a different generation. The first thing we think is sex.
It's very common to be, joked about or ridiculed just because you don't feel like it's proper to have sex before marriage.
They're talking about issues like violence, sex. It's different to be a teen nowadays, and Teen TV gives them an opportunity to talk about that.
Condoms and birth control are not 100%. Abstinence is 100%. It's not always followed. Most teens that I know that go out on dates, they go to movies, parties, and afterwards hotels and have sex.
And I don't think that, you should have to have sex to get love.
The stuff that kids have to say when you give them the opportunity can be really deep.
I mean, if you're not ready to talk about sex, then you're not ready to do it.
Any young lady, if you're not sure about what you want to do, it's best to wait.
Early Monday morning, the unthinkable happened for 33-year-old Patricia Beecraft. Some lowlife helped himself to her van.
I can't get to medical appointments. I can't get to the grocery store.
Patricia's problems are special because for 21 years she's been confined to a wheelchair after a diving accident left her paralyzed from the neck down.
It's hard to believe that someone could do that.
Talking with her just let me see what her life was all about. And that van was her real touch or her real connection with the outside world.
The search has ended for a handicap-accessible van stolen from a disabled woman in Prince George's County. Today it was found still equipped with its wheelchair lift, but it was ransacked and stripped of its radio, visors, and all of the seats.
Well, you have to do it slowly. Start with the driving seat. It's not fair. You work hard, you earn it, and someone just takes it. Well, I didn't realize what was going to take place, and I never expected this.
This is the outpouring of support Patricia Beecraft has gotten ever since her van was stolen nearly a week ago. Today, the van is being taken away again, but when it's returned this time, it will have a new radio and a lot more.
And we're going to put a phone in it, and we're going to put an alarm system on it, too.
Just to see her face, even her family members were just so happy that, that we were able to connect her with people who could help her out, put her van back together, and basically give her back her freedom.
How do you make something good even better? Washington's most watched morning news is giving you even more. News 4 today at 5:30. Washington's highest rated morning news, 30 minutes earlier.
Good afternoon. This is News 4 at noon. I'm Barbara Harrison.
And I'm Joe Krebs.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Jim Adley, and welcome to the new expanded edition of News 4 at 4 o'clock.
We've added a tremendous amount of news programs this year. Right now, we produce every week 37.5 hours of live news. That's the most of any television station in the area.
Okay, we are back. We got our microphones fixed, see, in our new weather center. Actually, everything else is... one thing, by the way, that we don't need today is our storm center, but that gives you an idea. Mark Hooksema is working on some new projects on there. Andrew Humphrey, you know him from the weekends. He's working on some of the graphics for our 6 o'clock. And over here is really one of the exciting parts of our new weather center. There's our home page address, by the way. Don't ever forget that. It's really exciting because when I first came here over 15 years ago, we had a thermometer outside, and I think that was broken.
We call it Bob Ryan's Weather World. It's big. It's got to be the biggest weather office in the area.
We told the people that put this whole thing together what we needed, how we wanted it to function, and we had some basic ideas of how we wanted to present the information. They took our ideas, listened to us, and what you see is what we got, and we're real happy with.
WeatherNet 4 is a joint project between NASA and Channel 4, which includes an educational outreach, new ways to visualize weather, and allows you access to Earth and space science data through the internet at any time from school or home. That's what this is all about, the home page.
It's an accomplishment. It's one that I'm very happy with. It has never been done before. A broadcast station has never had an agreement with NASA before.
Think of our WeatherNet 4 homepage as a starting point. Through it, you can access more details on our project, safety rules from our partner, the National Weather Service, educational information, what's new, like updated tropical information, and the latest extended outlook.
Whenever you do something that's never been done, it makes you feel very, very good.
We get great feedback about the kind of service that we're providing in the community. We get terrific feedback about the people that we have on the air, the kinds of stories that we do, the kinds of connections that we've made in the community. That makes me feel great.
He came from Oklahoma State, a Redskins 5th-round draft choice.
Dexter Manley.
You're in here for a while, you know. They're not going to get you an early for all. Maybe 97?
I hope not.
Well, you haven't given anyone any indication that it would be good to get you out.
This is a tough interview, George. I don't know what to say.
I think that everyone shoots for a star, but you've got to remember, when you latch onto that star, it goes for a fast ride. And when that ride is over, how do you deal with life after that fast ride as a star? Dexter didn't know how to deal with it, and that's why he is where he is today.
And George, whether you believe it or not, and whether you believe I'm coming back, I'll be a productive citizen again. I promise you that. You've heard it again, but this time, I'm coming. Because I know if I don't, crack cocaine gonna kill me this time.
At the time that we went and did the story with Dexter, no one had seen him, no one had called him, no one talked to him. I just thought it was time that he be reminded of what he had and that there are still people who care about him.
And I'm after these at-risk kids because I was. What I try to do is put in place by my leadership or my example or whatever.
From what I know, he was in the military a long time ago. That's all I know.
Not many kids in high school are all that concerned with what their teachers or their vice principal did before they met him.
The enemy were everywhere. They were up in the trees, snipers, machine guns, and somehow he got where he had to be. God knew that he had a job to do, and kept the hand on his shoulder all through that run. But what he did was he got back there and he saved the lives of 80 or 90 people, his soldiers.
These kids had no idea they had a hero of this magnitude in their midst, teaching them and working with them every day.
All Vietnam veterans are marked for life with that experience to varying degrees, and it will never leave us.
Mike Watley was 19 years old when he was sent to Vietnam in 1970. He was with the 101st Airborne, a scout dog handler, the first man down a jungle trail to sniff out the enemy or his booby traps. Mike says he was a good soldier.
I didn't expect it to be emotional when we went back to Vietnam. Hanoi was like this mythical place in the mind of a 19-year-old 25 years ago.
On a personal level, I got to resolve a lot of things that, you know, I needed to resolve professionally. It was exhilarating. It's a life experience that I'll never forget.
The federal government shutdown has been a real drag for some Florida fifth graders. They came up to Washington for their class trip, hoping to see the monuments, and you know what they found.
What was it like on top of the Washington Monument? Did you see the view there?
We didn't even go.
Air and Space Museum.
We didn't go. We saw it through the windows.
Smithsonian.
We didn't go.
Because nothing was open. We had to go around and search these kids out. We knew they were in a big white bus with Florida plates on it. And eventually, we found them at Shoals Cafeteria eating dinner. Shoals was open.
Today, after a News 4 report, they were treated to a trip to Capitol Hill, thanks to Florida Senator Bob Graham's office. Then the fifth graders from Quiet Waters Elementary School drove across town to get a tour of the NBC4 studios. Pat Collins took them to the control room in the newsroom and also put them up on the satellite so that their parents back in Florida could see them here in the nation's capital.
It felt like sort of a little miniature Santa Claus for a minute. You know, you came into a desperate situation and you put smiles on the faces of maybe about 8 or 9 kids. And the big hit, of course, is we bought them all pizza for lunch. Don't forget the pizza.
How's that trip coming now?
It's dark and desolate in her Tacoma Park, Maryland neighborhood, so Millie clutches a flashlight tightly on her 6-block walk to the bus stop.
It's so easy to bash government workers, and so many people do. And here's someone who I just thought was so amazing and who really does not fit the stereotype of the Washington bureaucrat at all.
No one needs this, right? Do we get orange chicken?
These 4 boys seem more like brothers than best friends. You could say Alan, Eugene, Bruce, and Brian share an almost fairy tale friendship. They met as little boys. Initially, it began as a story about friendship, about 4 boys who have been friends ever since childhood, and 2 of them happened to be touched by cancer. And it just led onto this whole story about their ups and downs and about Eugene's search for a cure. Boys came to the station, we gave them a tour, they met George, and then all of a sudden George says, "How would you like to be on set with me?" And they're like, "Sure."
The big game of this coming weekend, on Saturday, we'll see Churchill kick Springbook's butt.
Excuse me. Right. It says Churchill will upset perennial power Springbrook. You can't go on television and say that you're going to kick their butt.
Well, no one understands what perennial power is at my school.
For me, it's hard too because I got to know Eugene. And actually, I saw him a couple of hours before he died. His family called me to the house, and I was there with family members shortly before he passed away. And that was really a moment for me because he knew I was there, he knew his family was there, and everyone was saying goodbye. And how in the world do you say goodbye to a 15-year-old boy?
Wow! Look at the size of this thing.
Kids are hard to place children, so it makes me feel really good to be a part of it because I get to help find children that may not otherwise get a home, really.
Every child that I meet is different. Every child has a different story, and yet the story is the same. Abused, abandoned, neglected, waiting for a permanent home. I just hope each time that it's going to happen for that child, and it makes it worth it to keep going.
Can I have a hug?
Tell you that you are the winner of our Just One scholarship. And we have a big check. Bring me the check. We have a big check for you. That will...
The amount of $20,000.
I continue to be amazed that those children have survived the things that they've gone through and that they still have the spirit and the drive to succeed. They are little flowers growing up through the concrete. They refuse to be destroyed by hard times, and I think they're an inspiration to us all.
Channel 4 attempts to bring some real value to the community with every on-air project we do. every community outreach project we do, we ask ourselves, how can we make this of tangible value to the community? So the way we do this for the Taste of DC celebration is through our Food for You campaign. This year, more than 5.5 tons of food were collected, along with close to $1,000. The money and the food were donated to the Capital Area Community Food Bank for use by citizens who are hungry in our area.
It was just a wonderful occasion where families could gather and meet other families and in an environment that was a very positive and productive one. Regardless of ethnicity, regardless of gender, we were all there together celebrating the Black Family Reunion celebration. It was just a wonderful event.
One of the people who walked with the station this year was a 12-year-old friend of mine. It was her birthday that day, and she told her mother that that's what she wants to do on her birthday, was to walk so that people of her age and her school and her generation might not have to worry about it. It's nice. It's nice that we can do something positive. It's something that I think is very, very important.
We collected more money than ever before, $35,000, and we 3 tractor-trailer loads of food. We fed more people than ever.
We do these things because we now view ourselves as being much more than just a television newscast of record, but also needing to reflect very much what's going on in the community, need to be involved in the community.
As soon as those phones start ringing, they're very overwhelmed. A lot of them are very nervous and have no idea, once that graphic is put up with our number, that people are going to immediately call. A lot of the organizations have an ongoing need for volunteers. A lot of them are solely dependent on volunteers, and so to have that opportunity to help them it's very gratifying.
We hope you've enjoyed sharing some of these 1995 memories with us. All of us here at NBC4 wish you a very, very happy New Year.
And we pledge that in 1996, we will continue to be a leader in news and community service across the Washington area. Good night.